They called it the House of the Dead, because everyone who entered never came out alive. For decades, it stood at the edge of Raven's Hollow Lane, boarded, silent, and watching. Locals passed by without looking, afraid the house might somehow notice them. They said, at night, the windows glowed faint red, like the walls remembered something they shouldn't. Then, last winter, a storm unearthed something beneath the foundation. A rusted metal box, sealed tight, buried deep. Inside, police found tapes. Footage that no one was ever meant to see. What you're about to hear was recorded inside that house. Every second of it, real. Every scream, documented. And the people who filmed it, they were never found. This footage was found buried beneath its basement. Tonight, we uncover the truth behind one of the most terrifying places ever abandoned, a house that feeds on fear itself. Every wall, every floorboard, holds a memory. Some say it remembers the people who built it. Others believe it remembers the ones it took. The house once belonged to the Voss family, for members, gone without explanation in 1953. Since then, it has changed hands 7 times. No one has ever lived there longer than 6 months. Each owner left behind the same thing, a journal, unfinished, ending mid-sentence. Those who entered say they heard it, a voice calling from the attic. Others insist it wasn't a voice at all, just the house breathing. Stay until the end, because the final discovery might just change what you believe about death. The house was built in 1924, by a man named Dr. Harold Voss, a surgeon once celebrated for his brilliance, then condemned for his obsession. He wasn't interested in saving lives, only in bringing the dead back to life. Hospital records show that between 1922 and 1924, at least 16 patients under his care disappeared. Their families were told they had been transferred, but no documents were ever found. Soon after, Dr. Voss left the hospital, and moved into the house he designed himself. Every room had its own drain in the floor. Locals said he continued his work there, long after the screams had stopped echoing from the operating wing. Some nights, they swore they saw lanterns moving behind the windows. Others claimed they heard the sound of saws, long after midnight. When authorities finally searched the property, they found unmarked graves behind the garden wall, small, shallow, and numbered. Over the decades, people stayed away. Children dared each other to touch its gate, but no one ever crossed the threshold. Pets vanished when they wandered too close. And every few years, neighbors reported the same thing, lights flickering inside the empty house, just before a storm. But even legends begin somewhere. And if you could uncover what truly happened in those walls, would you dare spend a night here? If it meant discovering the truth? In the fall of last year, a small team of paranormal explorers arrived in Raven's Hollow. 4 of them, drawn by curiosity, by the promise of proof, by the kind of mystery that ruins sleep. 2 were friends, lifelong believers in the unexplained. 1 was a skeptic, a science student documenting the experience for his thesis. And the 4th, their videographer, who had never set foot inside a haunted location before this night. They arrived just after midnight, the same hour the previous owners always reported strange lights moving through the halls. And as their headlights fell across the gate, the fog seemed to pull inward, like the house had been waiting. Before entering, they checked their equipment, EMF meters, motion sensors, digital recorders. Every piece worked perfectly. Except the cameras, which began to flicker as soon as they pointed them at the front door. One of them muttered, half joking, "We're not supposed to be here after midnight." It wasn't in their script. It was a warning. None of them recognized the markings. But the pattern matched sketches found in Dr. Voss's journals, protection sigils, designed to keep something inside. When they opened the gate, the metal screamed. The air changed, thick, heavy, colder by several degrees. Later, investigators would confirm what the footage already showed. The moment they crossed that line, the temperature dropped, and the house breathed. The house opened before they even touched the handle. No one spoke. The door just moved. Slowly, as if something on the other side had been waiting for their arrival. The first step inside was colder than the air outside. Their breath fogged instantly. The smell hit next, a sharp mix of mold, damp wood, and something metallic beneath it, like dried blood. They tried to joke, the kind of laughter that doesn't come easy. One of them said, "Guess Dr. Voss forgot to pay the heating bill." But no one laughed for long. The sound of their footsteps didn't echo like normal, it came back distorted, delayed, as if the house was replying. They moved from room to room, their cameras recording everything. Wallpaper torn, mirrors shattered, furniture rotting in place. But each time they said his name, Dr. Voss, the lights flickered. First once, then twice, as if in recognition. They set up stationary cameras along the hall and living room. Every device worked fine, until one pointed toward the staircase. The feed began to break, lines across the screen, faint static, a pulse in the image that matched a heartbeat. Reviewing the footage later, investigators noticed something no one saw in the moment. A shape, standing just beyond the railing. Still. Watching. No one was upstairs. At least, not when they entered. 20 minutes after entering, the team began their first sweep of the ground floor. Everything was quiet, too quiet for a building that large. Then the sound technician noticed something. The camera mic was picking up. Whispering. At first, they thought it was interference. But when they removed their headsets, the whispers didn't stop. They were coming from somewhere inside the house. The audio led them to a narrow hallway at the back of the house, one door, sealed with a heavy chain. It was the entrance to the basement. Across the surface of the door, was a single handprint. Small. The size of a child's. And it was fresh, wet, as if someone had just pressed it there. They stood there for several minutes, recording. No one spoke. No one breathed. The heartbeat continued, not through the camera, but through the walls. The skeptic, impatient, reached for the chain. The moment his hand touched it, the whispering stopped. Behind that door, was nothing but black. Their cameras adjusted to the light. The frame went dark. And then, the footage ends there for 13 full seconds. When it returns, one of them is missing. If you heard that voice too, tell us in the comments. What did it say to you? When the recording resumes, the timestamp shows they've entered the basement. The air sounds heavier, you can hear it in their breathing. Every exhale seems to echo. The basement wasn't on any of the original floor plans. It had been sealed off, hidden behind layers of brick and rotting wood. Inside, they found what looked like an operating room. 2 metal tables stood in the center, stained, corroded. Leather restraints still attached, stiff with age. Next to them, rows of cabinets filled with medical tools, each tagged, labeled, and laid out with precision. One of the explorers found a journal near the far wall, its pages fused together by moisture and time. The handwriting belonged to Dr. Harold Voss. The entries describe experiments conducted beneath the house. procedures designed to bring them back. He wrote that death was only a delay, that consciousness could be preserved if the body was reawakened soon enough. But the last line changes tone. They come back, but not alone. The body remembers, but the soul refuses to stay. One of the jars draws their attention, inside it, a preserved heart. Old. Shriveled. And yet, it beats. Once. Then again. The videographer steps closer. And for a single frame, the footage shows movement. One of the other jars twitches. They turn toward the stairs. The microphones pick up sound above them, deliberate, slow footsteps. Measured. Heavy. Someone's walking upstairs. But all 4 explorers were accounted for. And every one of them was still in the basement. When they returned to review the footage, this is where things started to fall apart. Ghosts? Seriously? It's just bad wiring and an old house. Nothing's still here. At first, they thought it was the camera malfunctioning. Then his voice began to echo, even when his mouth wasn't moving. Ryan, stop messing around. He's still here. Every camera captured the same anomaly. The temperature dropped 15 degrees in seconds. And from every speaker, one phrase began to loop. You opened the door. You opened the door. You opened the door. No. No, this can't be right. We just came from. Time began to collapse. Every doorway led them back to where they started. Each frame of the footage glitched, as though the house itself was looping reality. He wants out. If you think it can't get worse, you're wrong. When the footage resumed, it wasn't recording them anymore. It was recording him. They said death was the end, but I've seen beyond it. They begged me to save them. They wanted life. I gave them something else. The serum, an experiment he called Vita Noctis. He believed it could recall the soul after death. Don't fight it. You belong to the house now. They realized then, this wasn't just a house where people died. It was the experiment. It's showing us what it wants us to see. The serum didn't resurrect bodies. It resurrected the place itself. Every soul that entered became a part of it. It never wanted to let them go. Something inside the house had changed. As if the film they watched had awakened it. The walls, they're moving. Do you see that? The house began closing itself, sealing every exit. Portraits turned to face them, eyes following their every move. Who's turning the lights off? Whose? Then came the lullaby. Faint, distorted. Like a memory the house couldn't forget. She wants to play. They followed the sound to the nursery. A room untouched by time. Please tell me that's just the wind. They looked inside, and saw what was waiting. Oh God, what is that? She's awake now. That was the moment they realized. The house wasn't haunted. It was alive, and fully awake. They ran. Every instinct told them the house was alive, and it wanted them to stay. This way. The window, we can get out through here. But beyond the broken glass, there was no outside. What is that? Where's the yard? Where's the road? Help us, please, don't leave us here. The voices, believed to be the souls of Dr. Voss's failed subjects, called out from the dark. Something's pulling me. An unseen force took her, dragged her down through the floorboards. Like the house was swallowing its prey. She's gone. She's gone, we have to go, now. They ran for the front door, their last chance to escape. It's open, it's open. But what waited beyond that door wasn't freedom. No, no, this can't be happening. We were upstairs. We were. The house had no exits. Only rooms that led back to itself. The footage ends here. No more screams. No more movement. Just silence. When authorities arrived 3 days later, they found the van still running outside the property. Doors open. Equipment scattered. But no sign of the crew. Only the cameras remained. Still recording. What the investigators saw next wasn't part of the original footage. He looked directly into the camera. We're home now. The cameras never stopped. Even after the batteries died. They kept recording. The House of the Dead, case file closed. So, you made it to the end. You watched them enter. You saw what waited inside. But the question is, would you dare step inside the House of the Dead? If you made it to the end, comment below, I survived the house. And remember, if you hear whispers tonight, don't answer. To be continued.